Okay, this video is to explain thinking, and the first thing is that the frontal lobes have two modules, one in the left, one in the right, so there's four modules, and these modules go back and forth between each other. One module has a hypothesis about how to accomplish something, and so and if it fails at accomplishing what it wanted to do, then the second module takes over and it has a second hypothesis and it starts doing that, and it goes back and forth and seeing whether it's getting it right or not. And so like if it gets it right, then it memorizes the procedures that were inside the module at the time. And so the thing is that this is on the left side and the right side of the brain. And so the thing is that I believe that that this goes all the way down. It's not just like one and then two modules. It's just like even inside the modules, it's trying to use memory and the outside world to confirm the way things operate, because the frontal lobes have a memory of all the motor commands that have worked in the past, and not only the motor commands, but like how the motor commands work out in parallel. So like if I use both my hands at the same time to do a task, I'm using more than one thing, so more than one motor command, so I have to coordinate all the motor commands together. And so the thing is, it starts out with a baby, that the baby doesn't really understand how its limbs work. The only thing that it can do is grab a finger, and the thing is, like, eventually you get up to where you can play a violin or what's that thing? A harp. So like a harp, like you need all 10 fingers to play a harp. But the thing is that all those motor commands, you're memorizing them into your frontal cortex, and this gives a library of commands that are possible. And so when you're coming up with a hypothesis, the motor commands are saying, okay, like, let's combine these, let's combine those, and then it puts them in the four modules of the how do I solve this problem. And also this is also like the way that you rotate objects in your mind. So like you have a cup, and you're saying like, oh, this cup is shaped weird. How do I pour milk into this cup without spilling it, because it's shaped like a shoe or something like that? You know, like I never poured milk into a shoe before, so do I hold this part first? Do I hold that part first? And it's remembering all the ways that it's had it had a library of motor commands to put it like that. And so the thing is like, and then it tests them. So over time, like for example, if you play Call of Duty or you play Halo, eventually you know all the ways that, like, at first you suck, and then but the thing is that you build up a library of motor commands, and they all start combining, and you become an expert at it. And the reason you become an expert at it is that because you can parallel process all these different functions of motor commands. So like, oh, I'm in this situation, and then all these things work together in parallel, and you automatically know what to do. And that's how you become an expert, because at first you only knew like two things to do, but then all of a sudden you knew 100 things from experience of what you could do. And this is also the same thing as when you're making stuff in your mind, is that you close your eyes and you're thinking about a painting, and you're like, oh, okay, so like the arm is in this position, the leg is in that position, and it's like you build up a library of things that, and you see the frontal lobes send signals into the back of the brain to send them back into the front of the brain so that it can evaluate them, so that it can say, okay, so how do I, and it manipulates what you're seeing in your imagination even into itself. But the thing is, in order to do this, it has to coordinate, what do I do first? How do I do this? How do I do that? So the thing is that the library not only is a library of commands, it arranges itself into a structure of commands of what comes first. And so once you have that structure, you can put in, when you learn new commands, you can build that into the structure of what of your thinking processes. And so you can create new pictures in your mind by manipulating them with the structure of the 4 modules, and you can manipulate just all sorts of things with the modules. And so because you have a library, it builds up into a structure, and that structure allows you to automatically know. It's like rotation. It's like a rotation, a multiple dimensions or rotations of commands that allow you to say, okay, so if I rotate it this way, it won't work, but if I rotate it this way, it will work. And so, or if I push here, it'll work. If I push there, it won't work. And so all of these things, the frontal lobes are designed this way, is to create a structure that operates super fast once you get all the structure built up on top of it with all the commands and memory and stuff. And so I guess that the last thing I'll say is that I think like if you're say that my thinking processes are slower than well, the thing is, I use language to think. So I can hold a word in my head, and then I can manipulate the word with all the other words in my head, and then I can build a structure of all the words going together, and then all of a sudden I know how to use words to describe things that I don't do. So the thing is, I can't do the visual thing. I used all the structure that you just saw me do was verbal, but like I can't think in pictures. So thing is like I think slower than average. I think if I go to a movie, and some people they can watch the movie and think at the same time. I can't. And but the thing is, I know what thinking is. And but the thing is, I'm 4 times slower than average at thinking, just because there's certain parts of thinking that I can't do. So I'm just 4 times slower than average at thinking. I have to build all this up inside me before I even give a video like this. But anyway, a structure is built up that works so that it can figure out how to manipulate, and I guess like that's exactly how I believe thinking happens.